Hello, everyone. We're back again. Been out for a while with lung issues because these lungs were born to suck anything but air. But we're back to read more Suetonius and the 12 Caesars. We left off on paragraph 42, where Caesar is in control of Rome. He has the power. He's not afraid to show it. He's already limited Roman males who are able bodied from being outside of Italy for more than 3 years. Otherwise, they've got to come back uh, because so many people, I think 80,000, Suetonius wrote, 80,000 citizens haven't been distributed into foreign colonies, right? In order to, I would assume, to make them Roman, to Romanize the population or something to that effect, colonization. Um, so Caesar is in control. He's locking things down. He's making crimes people caught or convicted of crimes receive much harsher penalties and so on. And the Senate is roiling. He doesn't care. The stakes are there, and the setup is there for what we all know inevitably is going to come. So I'm going to just jump right into paragraph 43. As always, I've never read ahead of anything. I don't know what's about to happen. I'm looking forward to this. Hopefully, you guys have been all right with this. And let's take this journey back into the past and explore. Paragraph 43. He was extremely assiduous and strict in the administration of justice. He expelled from the Senate such members as were convicted of bribery, saying something since bribery, what we read earlier in previous paragraphs, and very early on, bribery was like the thing in Roman politics. And he dissolved the marriage of a man of Praetorian rank who had married a lady 2 days after her divorce from a former husband, although there was no suspicion that they had been guilty of any illicit connection. He imposed duties on the importation of foreign goods. The use of litters for traveling, purple robes, and jewels he permitted only to persons of a certain age and station, and on particular days. He enforced a rigid execution of the sumptuary laws, placing officers about the markets to seize upon all meats exposed to sale contrary to the rules and bring them to him, sometimes sending his lictors and soldiers to carry away such victuals as he had escaped the notice of the officers, even when they were upon the table. So he's not only willing to make strict laws, make the punishment strict, he's willing to send the lictors, which were like the personal guardians of people in the Senate. They carried the bundle of sticks with the axe head in it that were all bound together. And they tended to walk out in front of Senate members and important people and sort of shoo the crowd away, keep everybody out of more than arm's length. He was willing to send them and soldiers out. I wonder if those were armored soldiers, because if I remember right, you couldn't wear the armor and that sort of thing in Rome, in the city walls. I wonder if they were armored soldiers or if they just had sword and shield. Hmm. But yes, as we see, he's not playing any games. Um, he's also made it harder to bring in foreign goods, which is also saying something because Rome was apparently gaga for things from outside. So I'm wondering if that also got people pissed off. Paragraph 44. His thoughts were now fully employed from day to day on a variety of great projects for the embellishment and improvement of the city, as well as for guarding and extending the bounds of the empire. In the first place, he meditated the construction of a temple to Mars, which should exceed in grandeur everything of that kind in the world. For this purpose, he intended to fill up the lake on which he had entertained the people with the spectacle of a sea fight. He also projected a most spacious theater adjacent to the Tarpeian Mount, and also proposed to reduce the civil law to a reasonable compass, and out of that immense and undigested mass of statutes to extract the best and most necessary parts into a few books, to make as large a collection as possible of the works in the Greek and Latin languages for the public use. The province of providing and putting them in proper order being assigned to Marcus Varro, one of Rome's early writers, who I haven't read either, so have to keep a note of that in the future. Also, for all the stuff Caesar's doing that I kind of look at like, he wants public knowledge. So he seems to be about libraries. So, I mean, there's that. He intended likewise to drain the Pomptine marshes to cut a channel for the discharge of the waters of the Lake Fucinus, to form a road from the upper sea through the ridge to the Apennine to the Tiber, to make a cut through the Isthmus of Corinth to reduce the Dacians, who had overrun Pontus and Thrace, within their proper limits, and then to make war upon the Parthians through the Lesser Armenia, but not to risk a general engagement with them until he had made some trial of their prowess in war. Hopefully, he didn't do all this on this in the same week. But in the midst of all his undertakings and projects, he was carried off by death. Oh yeah, that'll stop things. Uh, Before I speak of which, it may not be improper to give an account of his person, dress, and manners, together with what relates to his pursuits, both civil and military. Each, like I said, was just cut that right off. So, well, yeah, he's doing all this stuff, but then he got. Sorry. Uh, Paragraph 45. It is said that he was tall, of fair complexion, round limbed. All right. Rather full faced, with eyes black and piercing, and that he enjoyed excellent health, except towards the close of his life, when he was subject to, sudden fainting fits and disturbance in his sleep. Huh, okay. This is kind of weird. I guess it's almost like he's Dracula. It's weird. He was likewise twice seized by the falling sickness while engaged in active service. He was so nice in the care of his person that he not only kept the hair of his head closely cut and had his face smoothly shaved, but even caused the hair on other parts of the body to be plucked out by the roots, a practice for which some persons rallied him. His baldness gave him much uneasiness. It happens, folks. Your God happens. Just got to deal with it. Having often found himself upon that account exposed to the jibes of his enemies. He therefore used to bring forward the hair from the crown of his head, and of all the honors conferred upon him by the Senate and people, there was none which he either accepted or used with greater pleasure than the right of wearing constantly a laurel crown. It is said that he was particular in his dress, for he used the latus clavus, with fringes about the wrist, and always had it girded about him, but rather loosely. This circumstance gave origin to the expression of Sylla, who often advised the nobles to beware of the ill-girt boy. Paragraph 46. He first inhabited a small house in the Suburra, but after his advancement to the pontificate, he occupied a palace belonging to the state of the Via Sacra. Many writers say that he liked his residence to be elegant and his entertainments sumptuous, and that he entirely took down a villa near the grove of Aricia, which he had built from the foundation and finished at a vast expense, because it did not exactly suit his taste, although he had at that time but slender means, and was in debt, and that he carried about in his expeditions tessellated and marble slabs for the floor of his tent. Oh, yeah, if that's true. I've heard Suetonius, his history is, questionable. So that this could be one of them. But if that's half true, I mean, if you're carrying around tiles for your tent, uh, you might have some issues. Might be a little bit spoiled. Paragraph 47. They likewise report that he invaded Britain in hopes of finding pearls, the size of which he would compare together, and ascertain the weight by poising them in his hand, that he would purchase at any cost gems, carved works, statues, and pictures executed by the eminent masters of antiquity, and that he would give for young and handy slaves a price so extravagant that he forbade its being entered in the diary of his expenses. So he's gifting slaves, he's gifting young people with wealth, crazy wealth, so much so, but he doesn't want anybody else to know about it. But he invaded Britain supposedly because he wanted to find pearls. Now I'm interested. I'm interested. Is Britain was ancient Britain known for its pearls? I gotta look that up because again, that could just be another Suetonius thing. It could just be another Suetonius hearsay, but still worth looking into. Paragraph 48. We are also told that in the provinces he constantly maintained two tables, one for the officers of the army and the gentry of the country, and the other for Romans of the highest rank, and provincials of the first distinction. He was so very exact in the management of his domestic affairs, both little and great, that he once threw a baker into prison for serving him with a finer sort of bread than his guest, and put to death a freedman who was a particular favorite for debauching the lady of a Roman knight, although no complaint had been made to him of the affair. Okay. This, I mean, it's not really striking because if it's true, it just goes in line with him thinking everyone should get a harsh punishment, um, but not really himself when he's caught doing something. But he thinks other people should because he's so gung ho for justice. Paragraph 49. The only stain upon his chastity was his having cohabitated with Nicomedes, and that indeed stuck to him all the days of his life, and exposed him to much bitter raillery. I will not dwell upon those well known verses of Calvus Licinius. Whate'er Bithynia and her lord possessed, her lord who Caesar in his lust caressed. Oh, okay. I pass over the speeches of Dolabella and Curio, the father, in which the former calls him the queen's rival and the inner side of the royal couch. Oh, and the latter the brothel of Nicomedes and the Bithynian stew. Okay, all right. I would likewise say nothing of the edicts of Bibulus, in which he proclaimed his colleague under the name of the Queen of Bithynia, adding that he had formerly been in love with the king, but now coveted a kingdom. At which time, as Marcus Brutus relates, one Octavius, a man of a crazy brain, and therefore the more free in his raillery, after he had in a crowded assembly saluted Pompey by the title of king, addressed Caesar by that of queen. Caius Memmius likewise upbraided him with serving the king at table among the rest of his catamites, in the presence of a large company, in which were some merchants from Rome, the names of whom he mentions. But Cicero was not content with writing in some of his letters that he was conducted by the royal attendants into the king's bedchamber, lay upon a bed of gold with a covering of purple, and that the youthful bloom of this scion of Venus had been tainted in Bithynia. But upon Caesar's pleading the cause of Nyssa, the daughter of Nicomedes, before the Senate, and recounting the king's kindnesses to him, replied, Pray tell us no more of that, for it is well known what he gave you, and you gave him. To conclude, his soldiers, in the Gallic triumph, amongst other verses, such as they were jocularly sung on those occasions, following the general's chariot, recited these, which since that time have become extremely common. The Gauls to Caesar yield, Caesar to Nicomede. Lo, Caesar triumphs for his glorious deed, but Caesar's conqueror gains no victor's meed. Uh, okay. All right. So apparently, the rumor around the hearsay, which was apparently very public and had his own soldiers singing it, that seems weird. Unless Caesar was proud of it. I don't know. That he was getting on with the Nicomedes. Okay. And that they even called him the queen to Nicomedes. That's cool. No hate. Um, it's interesting to me though that this was a time when men tended to do things with men sexually. But I guess, but it was supposed to be, I think, of a male of lower class than the man doing the act, if I have that right. So Caesar with a king, I guess that's wrong because he's Roman. But Nicomedes, Conversely, Nicomedes, though, would be of a higher class than Caesar was. So I guess that if he's following that rule, that's technically right from his end, but I guess wrong from the Roman end because Caesar's the one receipt. Anyway, anyway, yeah. So trying to figure out how that works within their culture. Uh, but yeah, so apparently they had a lot to say about Caesar, and we now have been given the foreshadow that he gets killed while he's in the middle of all these crazy projects. So that takes us from paragraph 43 to 49. So sounds good to start off with paragraph 50 the next time around. And we're going to get, it looks like we're going to get into some more of Caesar's qualities before Suetonius takes us to his untimely demise. So, as usual with Caesar's life, it's wild. It just gets more wild. It's a lot of hearsay and speculation, songs as well. Apparently, uh, if only they had albums in ancient Rome and records. But yeah, that's enough for right now. Um, so thank you for if you watch this. If you have anything you want to add about Caesar and his life or the things that I just read in these paragraphs, feel free to comment. And I will jump back in with paragraph 50 the next time around. So this is a lot to chew on. I'm going to definitely have to look some things up for shorts. But you all take care, stay safe, stay reading, and stay growing.